Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniXTCG, and today we are actually going to jump into my personal Sakazuki list for the OP05 format. And yeah, I've been testing against a lot of decks. We'll get into those matchups as we continue in the video, but I want to show you guys my current list and explain the ratios and why. Past that, I just want to let you guys know that if you like the content, you should probably like the video, maybe even subscribe if you haven't already. Get this video over 100 likes so it can trend, and let's really get the ball moving. Now for you guys on the Patreon waiting for that Zora article, I am in the process of rewriting it because the unbanning of all these red cards really did, and unlimiting really did have to make me reevaluate where my Zora list was and if I was making the best article. So yeah, you guys know if you're already on there, they're normally like 15-ish on average pages. I do have to make sure that this is top notch before shipping it out. So thank you guys for being patient. That being said, let's hop into this, and if you want to hop over on the link tree, check out all the different quadrants of Universe X, that'd be much appreciated. So let's switch down to the deck view and let's talk about this Sakazuki list. Alright, so let's actually look at this list. This is my Sakazuki list, of course. I will let you guys know right off the rip. The thing about this deck is that it is going to be tight no matter what. You're gonna see that like there's just a lot of not a lot of room to switch around a lot of things, so you really got to make each choice count. So I'm gonna go over my list and I'll explain kind of why, and I'll do it in sections. The first thing some people may notice is that this deck might look light on 2Ks. There's only 10 in the deck. Lots of decks go for 12. One thing about Sakazuki is that you have a really nice mixture. You are removing cards before they can hopefully swing unless they have rush. You are putting up a plethora of blockers, and last but not least, you are curating your hand for only the best cards. So even if you have less 2Ks, there are a lot of times where you are making those combos matter because you are making sure that the dead cards are out of your hand. So that's that one. The reason why they're split the way they're split, while Suru is cool to play for one, you do have things like Great Eruption for that and Ice Age, but more importantly for me, the Tashigi is a 3 cost, meaning you can get it back with Rebecca. Quite often it's just the move, in my opinion, to if you just need to bolster your counter power and you don't need to bring back a Hina, or you don't need to bring back a Borino, a Kuzan, or Rablucci, anything like that, you can, or Sabo, you can bring back the Tashigi instead, just to make sure you have the raw counter power if you need to. So I like options. In this deck, you have so many options, you want to make sure that you just give yourself even more. Then the one-legged toy soldier is important. It can be played out with Rebecca to continue a combo alongside, like, you know, Hina and one-legged soldier are both targets. Hina obviously the better one, but if you have the one-legged toy soldier in hand, you don't necessarily have to fish a Hina out of grave. You can just actually get something else that you need and then play the toy soldier. But also, speaking of just from hand, there's a couple of combinations. Like, you'll find if you've been testing this deck that one of the main reasons why you lose is if you get pressured too fast with like rush, or maybe they've gotten a bunch of trigger bodies out and then like you start pressing you in category, or your opponent has landed 2 10 drops on board and you couldn't get rid of the first one and they landed the second one, and then you're forever on the back foot with that pressure. Well, when it comes to Toy Soldier plus Borsalino plus like a Kuzan or an Ice Age, these are just all like just surefire ways to get rid of somebody's stuff. If you have one-legged toy soldier on board and you bottom deck them for the -3 and you swing it through leader, that's a -1, so you have a total of -4. It only takes a Great Eruption past that to then be able to use Borsalino. And mind you, Great Eruption plus one-legged toy soldier plus Borsalino, that's 10 Dawn for their 10 Dawn while you leave a body and you drew a card. So think about that. You need multiple combinations to get rid of these 10K cards, because you don't want to ever get stuck just staring at one and not being able to move. Now, moving past that, we do have 2 Mansheries. I think a lot of people in testing should realize that Mansheri is a really, really rough card to have at more than that. It's just like, it really is a card that's really, really good, but sometimes you just see her early game and she's like kind of useless. So yeah, 3 feels like too many sometimes, 2 feels like not enough sometimes, but I would err on the side of caution, and the deck is already tight, so I have 2. Now moving over to what I call the Hina package, we have 3 of the black Hinas, mainly because you do want to see it as a discard, but you can always discard the worst card in your hand. You don't need to max out on a card like Hina to just have it as the worst card in your hand often. Yes, she can be played for 3 to minus something by 4, that's pretty cool, but yeah, you'll have her if you need her. So I have her at 3, and then I have 3 of the blue Hina. Now, lots of people are kind of up in the air about blue Hina, but if you've been on Twitter, if you've been in the forums, or if you played this deck enough, you realize that you can go tall with Houndblaze with the 3000 power dads, or you can go wide with Houndblaze. But to go wide with Houndblaze, you need a body on the field. And so looking at these deck lists, you have the brand news, which will go from 3K to 6K, but you also have the blue Hinas that will go from 4K to 7K. And the whole point of this deck is that it's so consistent due to you seeing so many additional cards that the average deck doesn't see. Hina adds on to that. Hina, if you're at 5 cards or less, will just see your next card while adding a body. That's forward momentum. And on top of that, Hina is also searchable by brand new, being a Navy card. So with that being said, she's a good addition in my opinion. Very nice. I run 3 Borsalino blockers, mainly because of course you can search it with brand new, you can get it back with Manshi or Rebecca, and yeah, sometimes too many blockers just don't give you forward progress. Kuzan is really good too. If, like I said before, the situations that you fold under mostly are aggro or big bodies that you cannot, a wide aggro board or big bodies that you cannot just like get rid of. If Kuzan's on the board, you are always going to be able to get rid of a good card. Like if you think about it, look at all the cards you have here at your disposal. All right, you have your leader ability, you have Hina, you have Great Eruption. If you use Hina to -4, then Great Eruption to -2, and then you use your leader to -1. You're minusing something by 7 cost, which will allow you to Houndblaze up to a 9 cost. You can Borsalino. You can't really Borsalino in the same turn as you do those things, so that's like right then and there the issue. So you have to use a multitude of cards to be able to get things low enough at that point. Like I believe 10 costs would be Hina -4, your leader -1 for the 5, Great Eruption ×2, or Great Eruption and one of your Tashigis or your one-legged soldiers. That's a lot. If you have Kuzan on board, that same play can just become Kuzan swinging to -4, and then that Hina alone being played after that will just allow you to Houndblaze. So Kuzan on the board is very good. Just be wary that depending on the matchup, Kuzan may not stay on board. If you take 1 damage, your opponent won't be able to Gidatsu you, and your opponent will be able to L-Thor the Kuzan off the board. But they still can Katakuri it, or if they are playing smart and you haven't applied the aggro or the aggression to them, which is fair because they're yellow and you're not exactly the most aggressive deck unless the setup's right, they can still hit you with a Thunderbolt and just give away a life they don't care about. Of course, in the mirror, it's not exactly the best. It gets you a draw and it's a body, but a lot of the cards you could deal with without Kuzan. So, I mean, take it or leave it. It can be removed easily. Red isn't really packing a lot of removal right now. Red is going very aggro unless you face Ace. But even in that case, if you're facing Ace, there's a lot of cards that Kuzan can bring down. So yeah, you have matchups where he is more or less vulnerable. But either way, a Kuzan on the field at the right time can almost be like a floodgate. If your opponent is playing a 9 or 10 drop that doesn't have haste and doesn't get rid, rush and doesn't get rid of the Kuzan, then they might be afraid to play it because the Kuzan on board presents you potentially being able to remove it the very next turn before it can swing on anything. Past that, you have Rob Lucci at 4. It's one of the main reasons why this deck goes. Between Kuzan, Ice Age, Hina, and Great Eruption, all the time you're able to remove 2 cards at one time, 2 meaningful, impactful cards at one time. So Rob Lucci really gets in there. Rebecca is probably the best card in this deck, honestly. It's good. Rebecca is able to look at this field that you see of cards right here, and it can get back 3 cost Hina, 3 cost Tashigi, the 4 cost Borsalino, 4 cost Kuzan, 4 cost Rob Lucci, 5 cost Sabo. It's just a very good card. Can't get itself, obviously that'd be broken, but Manshi can get it, and that's actually really nice. Just then the fact that Manshi and Rob Lucci are putting cards at the bottom and this deck drawing as much as it can, you can put cards in the bottom and then actually reach them if the game goes long enough. Past that, you got Sabo. This is another tech card. I see some people playing it, some people don't, but I feel like if you play enough, you understand that sometimes you have blockers on the board between turns, and the worst thing you can possibly do is try to press your opponent closer to the win for you, and then have a Thunderbolt or a Jet Pistol or anything like that come out of their life. So Sabo is very nice in the sense that sometimes you have your full board, you have your Kuzan, you have your Rob Lucci, you have 2 blockers, and you just, or a blocker, and you play a Sabo on top of your board, make all of your stuff immune to being KO'd and by effect until your following turn, and you just go crazy. You swing into their life with reckless abandon because that Thunderbolt, that Jet Pistol, that L-Thor, it's not phasing you. Now, Sabo isn't exactly as good against the mirror because you're bottom decking everything, but against yellow, against red, and even purple when they play that 9-drop Kaido, Sabo is really going to save you a lot of grief or a lot of like guesswork. You don't have to dawn up over 7k power, 7k or higher power. You don't have to look at your 4 costs and be like, man, Thunderbolt off the top would be rip-roni. You just play Sabo and you keep going. Now, because of my particular deck build, I feel comfortable with Borino at 2. Usually, I only want to use Borino once a game, but it's not my only avenue of getting rid of big bodies. Like, of course, if you Ice Age something and you swing with your leader, you play Borino and you get rid of a 10-drop. That's wonderful. But if I have a Kuzan on the field, I can also Ice Age Kuzan, swing with Kuzan, Ice Age, swing with Sakazuki, use a Hound Blaze, things like that. So multiple avenues to get rid of these big bodies is what you need. Now, the spiciest tech that may be in here, and it's not even spicy, but you've probably seen this in the list, is Kaido. Now, the thing is, once you start facing enough Sakazuki mirrors and they start coming from good enough players, you will find that if both you guys are playing optimally, you guys will both be grinding each other out, bottom decking your blockers, swinging on your little guys that have already swung after being Hound Blazed, swinging on your big attackers when you can, and hopefully forcing your opponent to drop cards out of hand to protect it, hoping that you don't have the removal, then following up with the removal or another swing. There's so much tit for tat in these mirror matches, but when you are able to resolve a Kaido, and in the mirror, there's a lot of situations where you guys are going so back and forth in each other's boards and nothing has haste or rush. Sorry, I keep saying haste. You will be in a position where you can resolve a Kaido. Or if you're in a mid-range match and you have 2 blockers and you have 2 life and you're not dying next turn, resolve a Kaido. These things are disgustingly savage because you play it for 10, you leave a 12k body. We already talked about how annoying it is to get rid of a 10 cost body against Sakazuki. They have to have the right things. In a simplified game state, mid to late in the mirror, you may play a Kaido and he may just stay on board for the rest of the game. But when you play a Kaido, you're getting those 4 cards in hand, which is extremely easy to trigger in a format where so many decks have 4 life. Red, purple, Luffy, 3. And L starts with 4. Deal a damage once, they're gonna take it. Sakazuki starts at 4. You have so many decks that start at 4. Whitebeard goes down on life. I'm just spitballing now. That Kaido will be able to come off on curve and usually get it off its effect, or late in the game you can just play it. But leaving that huge presence on the board after drawing you 4 cards, it's just like a reload. You are gaining 4 new cards in a control versus control mirror that is game breaking. So help your opponent if you resolve the second one too. Of course, in aggro matches it may be a little heavy to use, but even in aggro matches there are these times where you are this close to stabilizing. And you have blockers on board, you have a couple cards in hand, you've been dealing with their attackers, but you're about to bottom out. And the moment you bottom out is when they start chipping you. You start swinging on blockers knowing you have to block or let it die or take a life. You play Kaido, not only are you adding a beat stick they cannot remove in their current deck, but you are also drawing 4 to help you fend them off. So Kaido isn't just dead in aggro matches. It's good in aggro matches, it's good in mid-range, it's good in control. You just have to be in the position to play it. And if you're not, if you feel like it's a wasted card, discard it. Discard it, bottom deck it with Manshi, bottom deck it with Rob Lucci. One day you will get it back if the match goes long enough, and if it goes long enough, you'll probably be thankful that you saw it later. Now, we're at 2 Ice Age. Ice Age and Kuzan pretty much fulfill the same slot. They are -5 and -4 to your opponent's cards. The only difference is Kuzan requires himself to stay on board. However, if he survives more than the first time of his activation, he is going to get you value for the rest of the game. The moment he can swing a second time that you need to remove something, he is automatically outpacing Ice Age in terms of advantage, in terms of what it's accrued you. However, Ice Age does not need to be on the field, and so that means Ice Age is not vulnerable. While it is a one-off, it is safer and it is protected and more reliable on the spot when you need the cost reduction. So I like a little blend of both of them. They're both searchable with brand new, and while you can get one out of the trash with Rebecca and Manshi, the Ice Age can just be returned to the bottom of the deck where you can draw it later using Sakazuki's effect. Great Eruption, You should know what this is. It's the Upstart Goblin in this game. Pay 1, draw 1, -2 to something. Very, very good card. Very, very good cost. Enables a lot of things. Your opponent's 4 costs can be Great Eruption and Hound Blaze for easy, cheap removal. You only use 1 card technically for that because you refunded one of the cards, and you're going to turn something into a bigger swinger to swing with. Very, very good momentum. Then last but not least, you got one of the best cards in the deck, Hound Blaze. Hound Blaze is just a strong card. Removing or putting something with 2 or less cost at the bottom. You've seen all these cards that reduce cost, and so that's going to be pretty nice. I have 2 full-fledged articles on Patreon going over the Sakazuki deck, so if you want to hop on there and join one of the tiers and read those, that's a cool thing. But basically what I found so far is that Sakazuki doesn't really have any bad matchups. It has a couple matchups that are a little wonky. Enel is kind of the equalizer of the format, and it can go either way. I think that you have a better chance against Enel than a lot of decks because Enel can't stick bodies on the board really until the end of the game, and with the right setup and the right cards being held, you can remove those bodies when they come to the field. So Enel can be kind of weird. I think we'll start with the bad matchups. Katakuri can be disastrous for Enel, or sorry, for Sakazuki, because Katakuri is swinging for 7 every turn. Katakuri has access to 10-drop Big Mom. Katakuri has access to a plethora of triggers. You swing on Katakuri, you're likely giving them a body. They cruise in from an aggro perspective into this late game monstrosity depending on how many Big Moms they have. It's a very, very, very rough matchup. But Sakazuki can still win with proper piloting. That's the best part about it. There are no auto-lose matchups for Sakazuki, in my opinion. Now, I will say another matchup that's weird against it is Zoro. I've been playing a lot of Zoro and Sakazuki. I've been swapping it. I've been playing Sakazuki against Zoro. I've been playing Zoro against Sakazuki. A lot of times, if Zoro doesn't open up complete brick, you are able to press Sakazuki into a point where it has no life, and it's just putting up a wall of blockers, and that's only a single Diablo Jambe away for just winning the game with a 14k swing. So yeah, this does have some kind of weaker matchups, but outside of that, it goes pretty even into everything, and sometimes it has a disgusting matchup for certain things. Purple Luffy is like a wash. They can only play 1, maybe 2 cards per turn, and you can always remove 1 card a turn with Sakazuki outside of breaking. So it's really hard for them to establish a hand. And until we get the Uta starter deck that will be after Nats, we won't really have a deck that specifically targets Sakazuki with the utmost priority. So realistically, you just gotta be very, 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 very methodical and practiced and knowledgeable about your Zoro / Whitebeard / Katakuri matchups, because those are weird. Now the thing, or I guess unfavorable. Now the thing though, another deck that we should put on the list is Ace. Ace is also very, very, very rough to deal with because Ace can put a lot of rushers on board, but Ace also can put a lot of pressure on you with the leader. And the moment they tear through your defensive walls and hit you with cards, just start hitting you with big leader damage, you're gonna feel that, and it's gonna tax your hand. And a lot of your removal will just look like counterless cards in hand because they're not giving you a lot of things to remove. They'll play a rusher, they'll swing at you with it, and then you're like, wow, okay, well, what do I do with this in rusher? Remove it, but it's already done its damage. So there we gotta go there. But yeah, before this video gets too long, I'm gonna end it right there. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have feedback for the Sakazuki list, and I will see you guys in the next video. So we're gonna go over to the Patreon shout out to give special thanks to everybody that gives the extra oomph to this channel, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will likely be Dragon Ball Super Fusion World related, but we will hop back and forth between that and One Piece. See ya. Alright guys, here we are again with the Patreon member appreciation part of the video. Thank you guys for giving the extra little bit of oomph to put the wind in my sails to help keep this channel afloat and going. I want to thank everybody here, and if you haven't joined and you're thinking about joining, just know that Patreon is where you're going to see all the articles that are way too long to put into video form. It's where I do giveaways. We just announced the winners to our STO10 3 Captain Starter deck, and we're going to be looking for a box of OP05 to give out next. So yeah, now next we're going to take a special vocal shout out to the members of the Realm of X, the highest tier, the Brars, the Bryce R's, and the Big Daddy Flapjacks of the world. Thank you guys for giving the extra mile, and I will see you guys in the next article or video later.